Okay, we are live. Hi, happy Saturday, everybody. I am running a little late today, um, and I apologize if I sound weird. I've been sick, so that's why last weekend I didn't do a show, and the weekend before that, I think my parents were here. So it's been kind of crazy around here. I totally just randomly was like, what am I gonna make? And boom, it popped into my head. So I have a bunch of stuff that I need to like use up and get rid of. So I'm going to be making a mango salsa, and I'm also going to be making shrimp quesadillas. And I figure that worked out good because Cinco de Mayo is on Monday. And I love any excuse to make Mexican food because I love Mexican food. So that is what we are going to do. I apologize if you guys have been like, where the heck have you been? But like I said, this like sickness, whatever. So if I start coughing, like do not be disturbed because that's what I've been doing for a week plus. So it's finally, hopefully, starting to go away a little bit. So anyways, I have our shrimp that are basically like sitting here, and I'm going to make the salsa first. The cast of characters for the salsa, I don't know if you can see all of them. I have some tomatoes here, and then I also have just some petite diced tomatoes that I'll be using. Onions, I would use more of the red onion, but I only have one, so some of those. Of course, I've got mangoes, different kinds here. I have some avocados that I need to use up, some jalapenos, green onions, limes, and I have a whole bunch of Anaheim chilies or Anaheim peppers that I need to use up. So we're going to use these as well. And then garlic. So this is going to be kind of the cast of characters that's going to go on here. We'll add some spices to it. My dad made this when we were here, and we actually served it with some walleye, some fish that we just grilled up, and it was delicious. But it's good just for chips, but I figured it would be good to top our quesadilla with, and I needed to use this stuff up. So first, I usually start by chopping my like least spicy ingredients. The garlic is here, so I'll just chop it right now. It's going to be a lot of chopping, so please bear with me while I chop all this stuff. I'll move this out of the way. I don't think I've ever talked about knives on here, so I'll just go into that. These knives that I'm using are Forstner, or Victorinox is the same maker. They're fairly cheap knives. They aren't like the crazy Japanese-made knives, or I think there's German companies that make knives. These are actually Swiss-made. My dad uses a lot of these products and same company at the butcher shop. So they're just a really well-made knife, even if they aren't super, super expensive. They hold an edge fairly well, so that is what I like about them. And they also have a plastic handle, so if I'm feeling lazy, I can put them in the dishwasher. Versus, I know a lot of nice knives have wood handles, and you can't do that. So sharp knives are a must in this house. There's nothing I hate more than trying to chop something that needs to be chopped and having a dull knife and digging through stuff. Like with the tomatoes, it's especially crucial that you have a sharp knife. Otherwise, it'll rip the skins, and you really just get crappy tomato pieces. So I like sharp knives. Daughter of a butcher, excuse me. So we're going to give this garlic just a chop. You don't want the pieces too big. Depends on how you like salsa here. Sure, you can always put this stuff in like a food processor or something, so you get kind of more like a restaurant style salsa. But this salsa is going to be kind of more like a pico de gallo salsa with some chunks in it. Just got a big bowl here. Gonna dump this in. This was about five cloves, 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. Quite a bit. I like garlic and it adds good flavor, so. Then I'll go ahead and grab whatever's next here, my green onions. I'm going to pull out some of the icky pieces on them because these have been in my fridge for a while. If you have some green onions, we're going to use down to the whole thing. We can use the white piece and everything. Oops. Just give that a chop off. And I'm going to top these. And then just a nice coarse chop. It doesn't need to be super precise. And then down to these white pieces. Put this one out. All right. Oops. Then we'll dump this in. You could use, if you like hotter salsa or something that's going to be a little hotter, you could always use a different kind of pepper than jalapenos. Jalapenos are usually spicy enough for me, so that's what I'm using. I'm going to take the core out of these tomatoes. Be very careful if you do this at home. Don't cut yourself. Oops. There they go. And I always, when I'm chopping stuff, usually I have like a paper plate or something where I put my waste products or garbage products that I'm not going to use. I'm just going to use this little bag right here. All right. So nice, this nice going right through these tomatoes makes it nice. Just give these a nice little chop. Doesn't have to be super fine or super diced. And like I said, depending on how coarse you like things, if you like big chunks in your salsa, then you can do them larger. If you don't like big chunks, then do them smaller. There's really not any specific science to salsa. I know some people have made like fire roasted salsa. That's delicious. If you want to roast your tomatoes before, it would totally add a different flavor profile than just a fresh tomato. We'll put these in. You guys will get to see how good of knife skills I have. And the one thing is, when you're using sharp knives, just be careful and always respect the knife. Alright. There's one tomato. You can certainly use, if you've canned tomatoes, you can use that. I'm actually going to supplement this with canned tomatoes, so you can certainly do that as well. Or if you home can tomatoes that you have, that would work too. Any sort of tomato. But I needed to use these up, so that's what I'm doing. I don't take the seeds out. You could certainly de-seed them if you wanted. My favorite for salsas, especially when I'm making like pico de gallo, if I don't have tomatoes that aren't ripe on hand, because I live in the middle of the country and usually my tomatoes aren't the most ripe right from the store. So if I don't have time to let them sit, I usually will use canned tomatoes to kind of supplement what I'm doing. Petite diced are my favorite to use for this because I feel like sometimes the dice are a little larger. Alright, and then this is actually, this whole thing is 2 cups. I don't think I'm going to put it all in there just because it's kind of a lot of tomatoes. So about a cup, I'd say, we're going to dump in there. I need to wipe up my tomato juice. I should have used one of those cutting boards that has the nice little lip on it. Those are nice, especially for meats. Okay. Now we'll cut our avocados. I have not a clue what these avocados are going to look like inside. They've been in my fridge for quite a while, so if they're brown inside, I might have to grab another one. Nope, they're actually pretty nice. And then I know some people take their knife and hit the avocado, but I've seen too many people that have cut themselves really bad doing that. So you can either use a spoon or your hands, depending on how ripe the avocado is, to do that. Peel the skin off. These actually peel fairly nicely. My favorite thing when I'm making like guacamole or anything with avocados is I find sometimes they're hard to chop just because they get so kind of goopy. So if the pieces are too big or whatever, I always crush guacamole with my hands. It's just the easiest way for me to do it. So some of these pieces are a little big. If your avocado isn't quite as ripe, then it usually chops a little nicer. This makes for a messy time. I love avocados. You certainly don't have to add avocado to this salsa, but I feel like with the mango, it just adds such a nice flavor. All right, wash my hand. Let's see if this one will peel nicely out of there. Oh, look at that. It does. Sometimes it's such a mess. I made a tuna sandwich the other day and stuck an avocado on it. It was actually really good. It's surprising how nice sometimes an avocado adds to whatever you are making. And they're good healthy fats for you, so that's usually why I add them into my diet. All right. I'm actually going to give this a little stir just to kind of see what our mixture looks like here. So we've got 2 tomatoes, an avocado, our green onions, our garlic. I might need a bigger bowl for this. And actually, I think one avocado is going to look good for right now. We've got some good color in there. All right. Now I suppose we'll do our mangoes. These mangoes I've never quite really seen them like this. I don't know if they're going to peel. These ones are really green on the outside. And usually they aren't quite that. I think they're a different kind of mango. Who knows? If anybody's an expert on mangoes, let me know. And they're actually quite smaller than normal mangoes. Usually they're more greenish. The ones that we can get at our grocery store, we are lucky to get them at our grocery store. Cut around that kind of pit that they have in the middle. Okay. And like everything else, just a nice chop on these, not too fine. These mangoes are a little smaller than usual. So if you have one of those nice big ones, maybe one and a half, two is going to be plenty. I have 3 here, and we'll see. I might have to grab another one out of the fridge. I've actually found a mango barbecue sauce that I make that is absolutely fantastic. It also has some chipotle peppers in it, and it adds kind of a smoky sweet to it. Absolutely wonderful. I think I found the recipe via, I'll have to share it. I'll share it with you guys on social media. It's really, really, really good. Do you guys make your own barbecue sauce? I know a lot of people don't. Some people do. Super easy. It just takes some time to let cook. And then usually I will make up an extra batch of it and then put some in the fridge so I have some on hand. It's pretty awesome. All right. I think I am going to use all 3 of these mangoes. So we get lots of good mango flavor throughout. I've had these. They actually store fairly well. I was surprised. I thought they'd go bad a lot quicker, but I've had these for quite a while. Be careful, don't cut yourself. Mangoes are an interesting fruit. For a long time I didn't use them in anything because I just never really knew how to cut them and how to get them out of there, because if you try and cut down the center of them, they have kind of that hard pit in the middle, and I think it discourages a lot of people just because they kind of don't know much about them and don't know how to use them. So I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way to cut them, but I just kind of cut around the outsides of them, kind of like a core for an apple, and chop them up. I really like them dried. You can buy them in the store like a dried mango. Fantastic. All right. We'll give this a stir and check out what it looks like. Oops, I'm going to need a bigger bowl here. I think 3 mangoes is going to do it. You're looking for kind of a nice melody of tomato, avocado, and mango here. So not too much of one thing. We probably could have just used 1 tomato. I'll let you guys. So nice color balance here. All right. Excuse me. Then we'll add some spice to it. You can use whatever kind of onion you have on hand. I think it'll be really nice with this red onion. Add a little bit of sweetness to it versus a white. Onion's going to add a little bit of bite to it. Same with the peppers and then the jalapeno peppers. You could use bell pepper if you wanted, or like I said, any kind of pepper. If you like spicy, throw some spicier peppers in there. Maybe some red peppers, or if you like something a little more sweet, they make those sweet little bell peppers. Those could certainly even work as well. And again, not trying to get too precise, just a simple chop, not quite a dice. And a little bit of onion goes a long way because we're putting it in raw, so you're going to taste it. I think one onion is actually probably going to be plenty. Because we also have the green onions in there, so that's going to add some flavor to it as well. All right. And I think I'm going to have to dump this into a bigger bowl because we're running out of room in our bowl. It's usually how salsa works for me is I always make it too large. Actually, that's pretty much all my cooking. All right. This one isn't going to be a see-through, but I can tip it and show you guys. Excuse me. Alright, I'm going to give this a stir, check out what it looks like. I recommend doing that with your salsa when you're making it, just in case. I used one red onion here, and it was fairly medium-sized red onion, so it wasn't too large. I know sometimes they come fairly big. And I think we've got a nice blend of onion here. We'll also add peppers, some peppers. Like I said, I just have these Anaheim peppers that I need to use up. So that is what I'm going to do. Make sure we scoop the seeds out of them. If you like hot, you can leave the seeds in them. These are fairly mild. For those of you that have no idea what an Anaheim pepper is or an Anaheim chili, they look like this, and they're extremely, extremely mild. They're not that spicy at all. I would put them even underneath a jalapeno. So they're good in, I mean, breakfast stuff. So if you want like eggs, you can chop these up, and they're just wonderful like that. While I'm here chopping, I'm gonna actually chop up some a few extra of these because I'm going to use these instead of bell peppers in our quesadillas that we're going to make in a minute. But same thing for the salsa, simple chop. On spicier things, so if I was going to be using, like when I do the jalapenos, I try and get a little finer of a chop because you don't want to get like a big old bite, unless you're a really big jalapeno fan, a big old bite of a jalapeno and then have your eyes, your eyes water and it be super hot. So when you're putting hot things in, just be conscious of how big the pieces are, whereas something like a tomato or an avocado or the mango can be a little larger of a piece. So we'll give these a good chop. Alright. And I suppose I could have had this stuff all pre-chopped for you guys, but I guess you're getting the knowledge via Jenny today. Alright, I'm thinking probably 2 of these. That one was fairly big, this one isn't quite as big. Because we're also going to put jalapenos in here too, so we're going to get some spice. And as far as spices go, I'm just going to be very simple, and I'm going to be using cumin, oregano, salt, and pepper here. So, and you could, if you want, put a little bit of sugar in there to kind of lighten up the tartness that your tomatoes are going to add to it. I do that in my pico de gallo usually. All right. We'll give this another stir, check out what it looks like. Perfect. Oh, you guys, this looks so good. All right. Now we'll add some real spice in there. Forget to core them out. Don't forget when you are using peppers that if you don't wash your hands, these oils will stay on your hands, and you could have a real problem if you're touching your eyes or something similar. I've heard lots of stories of people who have actually had to go to the hospital for things like that. So just be very conscious when you're using hot peppers of wash your hands and get that oil off there. Jalapenos aren't usually too bad. Doesn't burn for too long. Okay. I'm going to put this fairly large jalapeno in here. For what we've got going with the other peppers. I think I can afford to use another one. All right. This one isn't quite as big. Sure you take those seeds out unless you like seeds. Like I said, you could certainly fire roast this. So you could roast the peppers, you could roast the tomato and have totally different flavor profile. Maybe even put some chipotle chilies and adobo in this. That would be certainly another way. Totally different flavor profile. This one is a little more fresh, going to be a little more crisp of a taste. A little more, those onions are going to be on your tongue, peppers are going to be on your tongue. I feel like when you fire roast stuff, it just kind of lightens that flavor and blends things a little better. All right. I think we're good on the peppers. All right, now we're just going to add some lime and some spices to it. If you have limes, to get the most amount of juice out of them, I roll them like this, kind of really press the heel of your hand on them, and it'll help them juice really nice. Lemons typically juice fine on their own, so. Okay. And I love the lime juice. It's also going to help your avocados from turning brown. It's just going to help keep things a little nicer in there. I always put lime juice in my guacamole because it helps it stay. And I'm actually going to rip some of this pulp out of there too because I like having lime pulp in my salsa. All right. You don't want to get too much juice in there, so kind of give it a stir and see how much is sitting at the bottom. I think the juice of one lime is going to be plenty here. Then we'll grab our pepper. You guys know, if you've watched my show before, that I love black pepper. So be very generous with our pepper. And a little bit of salt in here. we're going to add some cumin. I would say probably the equivalent of a teaspoon. And some oregano. Probably about a teaspoon of that as well. And we're going to give this a stir. So, you're just now watching. We have 2 tomatoes, a cup of petite diced tomatoes. We've got 1 avocado, 3 mangoes, 1 red onion, 2 Anaheim peppers, 2 jalapeno peppers, and the juice of 1 lime. And there's our salsa. This is absolutely fantastic. Oops, I forgot to actually chop our Anaheim peppers. So, now that our salsa is ready, we're going to let it sit. It actually does better if it sits, the longer it sits. So, if you're planning on having people over and you want to make this salsa, I would actually even make it the night before, because the longer it sits, the longer all those flavors are going to meld together and get even better. I need to make a space here for my pan. So if you weren't watching, I have these shrimp here that have been sitting in this Mexican tomato sauce. I'll show the can here. El Pato is the brand of it. If you've never used this sauce, find some. You can find it at even places like Walmart carries it. Super, super, super easy. But it is spicy, so it's got some bite in it, and it's got, let's see what it has in it. I'm sure all kinds of things that aren't necessarily good for us. Tomato puree, water, chilies, onions, garlic, salt, and spices. So it's got kick to it. If you are one that isn't super into hot, use this very sparingly. But it's just wonderful. I mix it sometimes in my enchilada sauce. I've made burritos that you dump it over. So I have this, just that in with these shrimp that have already been peeled and deveined and everything like that. You can certainly use bell peppers, but since I have these peppers, I need to use them up. So I'm just going to slice these up for more of a, excuse me, for more of a quesadilla. So you're going to want, like a big chunk of like a pepper or an onion here. So we'll slice these. De-seed them. You can see my pile of discards here is getting fairly large. And actually, I'm going to cut them in half and then just give them a slice. And then we'll do the same thing for our onions. If you have bell peppers, like I said, you can certainly use those. Maybe a mixture of yellow and red, or red and green, or the orange ones are really good. Bell peppers, I imagine, to be a little sweeter in here. This is going to add a little more heat, but maybe it'll kill off whatever I have right now, this sickness. Isn't there some like cultures where they take like super, super, super hot peppers when they're sick? So just 1 pepper is going to be fine. I'd imagine for your quesadillas, 1 bell pepper should be plenty. I grab my pan here. And the first thing we're going to do is we got to cook these shrimp up. So we'll turn our stove on. Excuse me. When I'm cheating, I'm using pre-shredded cheese. You can shred your cheese. I have mozzarella cheese and sharp cheddar cheese. You can certainly use whatever cheese suits your fancy. If you like spicy, more spicy, then you can use pepper jack or whatever else is going on. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of olive oil to this pan. These shrimp will cook up super fast. They're super small. If you've never really worked with seafood or shrimp before, they don't take very long at all, just until they get, and you'll tell when they're done, they turn kind of a pinkish color, pinkish orangish color when they're done. I'm going to toss all this on here, make it for easier throw away. I go through paper plates and lots of paper towels or hand towels when I'm cooking because I'm constantly getting my hands dirty, wiping my hands with towels or paper towels. What's cooking if you don't get dirty? You could certainly, if you wanted to, put this lime in with that shrimp. That would be good too. All right. Turn on our hood up here. In case if you haven't watched my show, my smoke alarm goes off like easy, but thankfully, knock on wood, it has never gone off on my show. Watch now, it'll go off. All right. And we'll just let these shrimp kind of cook. Dump the juice in with them and everything, the sauce. They make a jalapeno version of this El Pato sauce. Comes in a green can. And it's really good as well. So, I think it's a little hotter than this one. I don't know. For those of you who have tried it, you'll have to chime in. While we're waiting for these shrimp to cook, I will check all of our chat areas. Or Facebook if some of you guys are commenting. I don't see anything. Or Twitter. This has been kind of a long one. You guys watched me chop forever. Alright, so I'm going to grab something to flip these babies over once they start cooking. And honestly, like 2 minutes aside, maybe. They do not take long at all. I don't know if you can tell. I'll show you guys once they're done. Once they're no longer basically the translucent fruit, they're done. You'll want to flip them over one by one. If you wanted to make more quesadillas, you could use more shrimp. Let's see, I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. About 12 to 14 in here. And then when they're done, they'll actually go on our cutting board, so we can just kind of give them a nice chop. Excuse me. So I'll show you guys. See how they've turned kind of an orangey color? That's how you can tell they're done. And they smell so good, you guys. If you aren't a fan of seafood, you could always use chicken. Just kind of chop your chicken up into little bits, or leave it as whole breast, but I'd cut it up into little bits, dump this sauce over it, and then do the same. Put it in the frying pan. Make sure it's cooked all the way through. All right. I'm actually going to turn this on, and I'm going to run to the sink with this and rinse it out because this is the pan we'll be using for our quesadillas. Alright. Now we'll turn it down to a lower heat than what we had it on previous. Give these shrimp kind of a nice little chop here. Actually, I forgot our, man, you guys, I'm just forgetting all kinds of stuff this morning. Our onion. You can do this with beef too, any sort of meat. But the shrimp just adds a totally different flavor to it. And we want slices. Now before we make our quesadillas, you could certainly put these ingredients in raw if you wanted. They aren't going to crisp up all that much. I don't know about you, but when I get a quesadilla, I really, really, really like sauteed onions, sauteed bell peppers, things like that in it. So I'm going to grab some butter because that's how I like to saute my vegetables. You could use olive oil, but I just don't think it quite has that delicious flavor that butter does, especially when you're doing onions. Okay, throw this in, let it melt down. And if you're using bell pepper, that's what we'll use. You can use that, saute it. These peppers will saute up just fine too, these Anaheim peppers. Alright. Throw this in there. It will take a couple minutes, but it doesn't need to be like caramelized like we did. If you remember the very first show that I did, we did caramelized onions. They won't take near as long as that. Put a little black pepper over these. We could add a little cumin to them as well. Kind of a free-form morning, you guys. Make it as you go, pretty much. All right. So we'll let those get nice and toasted, I guess you would say. We'll bring our cheese over. Like I said, you can use any sort of fancy cheese you want. I'm just using mozzarella and cheddar. And then our flour tortillas, I'm using the big ones. You'll want to use the big ones too. I swear, you guys, there's nothing better than the smell of onions cooking in butter. That's probably like my ultimate smell. I know for some of you it's bacon. All right. Turn up the heat on these so they get nice grill marks on them. Be careful if you are using, bell peppers won't do it to you, but if you are using kind of hot peppers, then you put them in a pan, like a saute pan, they can like burn your eyes, so be careful if you're sitting over them like this. There we go. All right. Almost like we're making fajitas, but in a quesadilla. Similar. All right. I'm just actually going to dump these right onto this pan right here. And I'm going to use the same thing. I'm not going to wipe it or nothing because we want that little bit of butter in there. Help brown our quesadillas. And we're definitely going to turn our heat down so this doesn't like brown on impact. All right. So we're going to put our shrimp. Our onions and peppers. In the pan. And some cheese. And we'll get a spatula. The hardest part about this is going to be flipping it over, and I am no master at flipping it, so if you aren't very good at flipping it, don't worry. And you can kind of check it. Since we turned our heat down, it's going to be a little more forgiving about flipping it. If you have something like Pam, like that spray stuff, you could always spray this other. But there's some butter in our pan, so it should be fairly well. All right. Flip this bad boy over. Perfect. Actually, I'm going to sneak a little more cheese in there. The more cheese, the more glue you're going to have holding this sucker together. I'll use some of this white cheese too. Some mozzarella. Perfect. You just want to kind of monitor it until all your cheese is melted. Move this and get a plate. You can serve this with guacamole, sour cream over the top, salsa over the top. That is why we made our mango salsa. It's going to be fantastic. Alright. Like this one, see how she's still on the bottom. Give it a nice cut. I've made this before with a hybrid of chicken and shrimp. You can use all shrimp, you can use chicken, you can use beef, you can use whatever suits your fancy. There's our quesadilla. We'll put a couple big scoops of this mango salsa over the top of it. There you are! Enjoy! Happy Cinco de Mayo on Monday, everybody. I hope you guys will try this out. Next week, I should be back. I don't have any engagements as far as right now. I do want to show you guys how to make my mother-in-law's absolutely famous waffle cookies. So if you have no idea what those are, I would stay tuned for that, and that will probably be on the plan for next week. I hope everybody has a fantastic Saturday, and thank you for watching. Bye!